Hi everyone, this is Unathi Xantibe, a boy from the Eastern Cape in the villages of Queenstown. Yes, in the past 10 years, where was I? I think I started working in the past 10 years. And what I was doing, I used to smoke, yes. I used to smoke. I think I smoked almost half of my life then, which is I started smoking at a very young age. We smoked weed, and then I think everything accelerated in 2004, where we formed a gang with the gents in the villages there. The name of the gang was Amajuda, so we believed more in money and all those things. So we used to rob people, and people didn't believe that with me because I was this nice guy and all those things. Even though some of the things I didn't do, but I did most of those stuff, playing around with girls and all those things. I think my turnaround, it was a turning point. Yeah, my turning point was in 2009 when I got arrested in January. I think I was supposed to do my grade 12. Yeah, I was arrested, I think, for about 24 hours. No, not 24 hours, 24 days. Because we did housebreaking in one of the shops because we were drunk with the gents, and then we decided to do that. But it didn't work out, so we were all arrested. And I remember one of those days where I think on our third day, because we were arrested it was on Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Sunday, we had a session with the gents where we had like some services in the prison holding cells. Yeah, in the holding cells, people who are from the Eastern Cape would know. In the Rocklands, holding cells, it's not nice, where you don't even see the sun. Yeah, so we had a service there, all the gents. I think we were about 9 of us. So one guy, like, we were singing and all those things. So one guy was sharing the word. As he was sharing the word, he said we didn't have the Bible, but what he said, it was like, there was a time where King Herod saw the lady, the Herodia, the daughter of Herodia, who was dancing, and then the king said she can ask anything and the king will give it to her. And because she was a child, so she didn't know what to do, she ran back to her mother. And then because her mother had a grudge with John, and then she said to her, ask the head of John, because the king said anything, and because the king said it publicly, so he couldn't take back his words, and then he had to give the head of John up. But the lady didn't, like, the young girl didn't know what to do with the head, but she took it back to her mother. So for me, what was the message for me there? It was like God is asking me, because I was there now, and I felt so bad about it. And so it was more like God was talking to me personally, asking me what is it that I want. And I said, God, if you can take me out of this, I would work for you. I would work for you. I didn't know what I was saying, but I knew I needed to say something. And I remember when I was talking with the gents, I said, if the Lord can take me out of here, I'll work for him. But I didn't understand what I was saying. That was 2009, January, because I remember when we were released, because we had to pay 2.5 to drop the charges, and our parents paid for that. And my grandfather was very disappointed in me when that happened. But yeah, I was also very disappointed myself. But I came back. When I came back at school has already started. It was, I think, the 3rd of February when we were released. So when we were released there, when I arrived at school on a Sunday, it was the last day of registration, like of the year group. Like, that means the grade 12, they were taking the register for the last time to submit to the department. So it was that. Then from there, I started noticing God doing things, because I remember even the day when I was released, I told the other guys I was with, I said, "Gents, I won't see you again," because I was incarcerated at I was changed because I changed my name, I changed my ID number, so I was taken to juvenile in Cradock. So the day I was leaving there, I knew that I was leaving and I'm not gonna come back. But I don't know what was the hope, because I remember I got some passage of a Bible, because the gents were smoking with the Bible, so I couldn't smoke with it, because I had that thing that God sees me, God is with me in this. So I couldn't take it out. I couldn't take that thing in the Bible and smoke with it, even though the gents were smoking with it. So that was for me, that thing of God consciousness was there, even though I was still smoking, drinking, doing all these things. So then I was released on that, I think it was on the 3rd of February. Then I came back, I registered at school for grade 12. Then I did my grade 12 2009. But I there was something in me that said, no man, you can't continue living like this, you can't continue disappointing yourself like this. I came back, but I was still smoking, I was still drinking. I used to smoke. People who know me, most of them, they know me as that boy who smoked weed. Yeah, like that's what they know about me. Like almost no one who believed when I said I stopped. Like, no, that's not possible. Like even things of girls and all those things, people didn't believe it. So that was now 2009. And in 2010 I went to Secunda. I remember I wrote something. It was 2009. Yes, things were a bit rough. They were a bit rough, and I remember making this promise to me, like if I can go live the village that I was at, things would be better. So when I left my village 2010 now, because I finished my grade 12 2009, then 2010 I left to Secunda. So when I was in Secunda, I even then I was drinking, smoking, drinking, smoking, drinking, smoking. I remember in November when my father passed on, that was when things really changed. It really spoke to me that I really need to change my life. And when I was reflecting on his life and my life, I was like, there's nothing better I'm doing that he was doing it, and I didn't like most of the things he was doing. So like I remember my grandmother would always say to me, you are like your father, you love girls and all those things. So that hit me when he passed on. I was like, if I'm like him, so that means I will be more like him when I grow up as well. So that means I'll also die with nothing. So he passed on 2010 November. I went to his funeral, even though we're not staying together. So I went to his funeral. What stuck with me, it was the house he built. Like it was a one-room house, but during that time of the burial, that house had to be like destroyed because it had a big crack and it could fall at any time. So for me, it was like, if your father died with nothing and the last thing he had was that house, and that house now is no more, what good do you think you would be if you continue the way like you are living now? Because I used to smoke weed. I remember in his funeral, I was talking there and then with my brothers, and then I was like, if now like we want to progress in life, we really need to take our eyes and look up and focus in the Lord. But I didn't really understand that was what I was saying. I used to love the church even then. When I was still smoking, doing all these things, I used to love the church. But it never got to me to say, these things that you are doing, they are not good for you. But that day, I remember the preacher, when he stood, he said, what is the use if someone says something but they don't live that? And those words, I think that's the only thing I remember about my father's funeral. Those words, to say what good it is for someone to say something that they don't live. So it was really it synced with my heart, and I was like, what is it that I need to do? I began asking questions. I remember when I went back to Secunda, my uncle told me that these things that I was doing, I can pray about them and God will come for me and he would help me. I was like, okay. Then I started praying. because I remember in his house there were a lot of English prayers, and I was fascinated by English. Almost I'm a village boy, so I was fascinated by English. I was reading the prayer in English, because okay, that thing of the prayer, we used to sing the prayer at school, but I never really I was never confident with it because I didn't understand the words. So when I got to get the script, the right words, then it was so amazing for me. So I started praying, started reading about God. I think 2011, my uncle showed me a church. It's like, you can go to that church. Those young guys there, they are very good and what. Okay, I went there. I think I went for that was before that. Before that, it was on the 21st, where I was with this other guy, Umenzi. I think he's from Nelspruit. So he was a Swati guy. So I said to him, man, I want to stop smoking. I want to stop drinking. And I said to him, I will stop. And I said, drinking, I will stop in the 1st of January 2011. That's what I said to him. On my birthday, I made that wish. It was on the 20, my birthday is on the 24th, 23rd. You'll understand, it's a story for another day. So on the 23rd, we bought a cake, and then we bought some wine, me and him and the other gents. So the other gents left, then we stayed, and then we drank the wine, and then we ate the cake. But I made a wish, and I said, God, if you can help me stop drinking, help me stop smoking, I think I would work for you. And on the 30th of that month, I drank. 25th, we were drinking. 30th, we were drinking. I remember the 30th of December, when I smoked the last joint. I told myself, this is the last joint that I will ever smoke. That's the last joint I would ever smoke. And I smoked it, and I finished it. I went to the gents, I was high, and they're like, hey, gents, this is my last time smoking weed, and this is the last time I'm smoking weed. They're like, they said it in ngesizulu, inkomo zingayekela utshani, if when you can stop, like it's like if I stop smoking, cows will stop grazing the grass. So I was like, no, I want to prove them wrong. I remember now, it was 30th, 31st. On the 31st, we drank, and then following day we drank. It was the 1st of January, now 2011. 1st of January 2011, we drank with the gents. I think I got a blackout around to 7 in the evening. So the New Year's, I was out. So I went to sleep. I don't know when I went to sleep, but they told me that I went to sleep around 7 and all those things. The following morning, it was on the 2nd of January. So that was when we started, like we wanted to do some tunyana for hangover, but I couldn't drink. I tried, but it couldn't go in. Then I was like, okay, I remember the prayer I made. It was like, okay, I think God is doing something with me. Then the following Sunday, I went to church. When I went to church, I was still smoking cigarette and everything, cigarette. But on that following Sunday, when I had to go to church, the second Sunday now of the year, when I had to go to church, I was like, nah, man, I can't go to church smelling cigarettes and all those things. I need to not to smoke when I'm going to church. Then that was it. And then I went to church, I didn't smoke. But it was a bit of a confusion now to see like people from church, we are from church together, and then they are smoking, like they are with girls and all those things. I was like, okay, but does it make sense now? Yeah, but in me, something was like, no, this is not right. No one who told me that smoking and all those things are wrong, but it was just something that says in me, no, man, not for you. Then that was it. I think that following week, I was like, no, I'm stopping this cigarette thing. Then there was this other guy, he asked me to sell the cigarettes for him. And then as I was selling the cigarettes, I would sell like 320, like, almost that 20 cigarettes. I would smoke, I would sell them. I was no longer smoking now. I would sell them like 2 to a third one per day. Like I was just going up and down. But I never smoked. I didn't smoke it now. Yeah, I remember in that week again, there was this other lady. I think her name was Mpho. Mpho came with a plastic full of weed. And I was like, it is a temptation. Because I said I stopped most. And then as that was happening, and what happened was, I took the weed and I was like, okay, what will I do with it? I was like, no, man, sell it. So I was a merchant for a week or so because I took it and then I was selling it. I was selling it. I was selling it. And then, because it's cigarette, it's weed, it's cigarette, it's weed. I finished it. And I was like, no, man. I think it was now on the third week. I sold everything on that day. I was left with one cigarette before I go home. I remember I took that cigarette, I smoked it, I smoked. Just before it reached the where it says Stuyvesant, that's why I was like, it got to me. It's like, who are you doing this for? Is it for the people or is it for yourself? Then I was like, no, man, I'm doing this for myself. Then I smoked that cigarette. And to my surprise, it didn't even make me dizzy or anything, because it was almost now 2 weeks not smoking. But it didn't do anything with me. But I was just sober in the mind. I was like, no, man, this is my last one. I stopped it. I think it was on if I'm not mistaken, around the 22nd of January 2011 now. I got a job that week. As I got a job, the gents was like, now you're working, you'll go back to the things you were doing. But I knew in my heart that I'm not going to go back to those things. So every time when I was off, I would go to church. Every time I was off, I would go to church until this uncle, a friend of my uncle, came in. And then that year, that time, there was a girlfriend I was dating, and she was supposed to come to me to visit me maybe for a week or something, and then she was gonna leave. But when that man came, it was like I had to say to her, no, you can't come now. And she was so disappointed. So as he was sharing the word with me, I came to ask him a question to say, what is it that someone needs to do in order for that person to be born again? It's like, no, it's okay. What he said to me, actually, he said, I am right. I'm no longer smoking. I'm no longer drinking. I remember I used to have earrings and all those things. So those things, because he was that man, and it's like, no, you can't have those things if umzalwane. Like, you can't have those things. It's like, okay. Then I was like, I took them. Lucky enough, my cousin, he was there, so he took them and then he wore them. So for me, he was like, I wasn't sure now about this gospel that he's preaching, because it didn't really liberate me in a way. But I felt like I need this thing. So he explained to me, like, I remember one time where I was like, hey, but now I'm stuck between. I grew up like in the culture of Amaxhosa and all those things. So I went to the mountain, like those tradition, like how will I run away from those things, you understand? So he gave me a scripture, which is Matthew 13. In Matthew 13, where he speaks about the seed, the seeds, the different kind of seeds that were scattered by the sower. So one of those seeds, like different kind of seeds. So he said to me, go read and come back and tell me, which seed do you identify with? And I read them, but one of them was like the one that it grew amongst thorns. It's more like, for me, it was more like, I want the change, but how I grew up, it's some sort of confining me. It's stopping my growth, so I can't really grow, because I can't sprung out because of those thorns, because I'm thinking what they did at home. So if I'm no longer now partaking in the things that they do, how is it gonna reflect on them? How will they treat me? How is the society gonna take me? And I was like, that was it, man. I was like, nah, man. But when I came back to him, he's like, pray about it. But I was like, but I really need this Jesus thing. I remember that was now around April now. That was around April to May. So he said, I said, I want this. But he said, no, if you want this, it's okay. But we'll wait for your uncle. So he come as a witness. You understand? So we were church. It was church, up and down. Where there was a revival, I was going. So that was that. And then I remember now, when he reminded me, I had an invite. This friend of mine, Uveli, I was working with him. He was my colleague, and we're working together. But I loved the way he was living his life, and the way he would answer questions to people. When people were asking him questions, I was like, I admire this guy. I admire the style and the way he is. It's like He's just a normal guy. You wouldn't think ngumzalwane, because tina in where we grew up, abazalwane is people about wearing suits with a Bible. He was not like that. But when you speak to him, you'd like, wow, this guy is different. This guy is different. So that was that. He invited me to his church. That was I think on the 29th of July. So the 29th of July, no, it was, yeah, the 29th of July, it was on a Friday. He invited me to his church, and I was like, no, I'm going to come to his church. On that Saturday, my uncle came. So after a long time, he didn't come. So my uncle came on that Saturday. When he came, that friend of uncle, he asked me, do you still, he asked me, do you still want, you remember you said you want to accept Christ, do you still want it? I was like, yes, I want it. So it was me, my uncle, and him. So it was the three of us. And then they said, okay, we can help you pray. And then we prayed, and then I accepted Jesus Christ. I was like, wow, okay. And then that following day, I was going to a different church. So when I honored the invite, I remember when they preached there, and it was not even Umfundis, the pastor of the church, who was preaching there. It was one of the elders at church. So he really he really spoke to me. He answered a lot of questions I have about the culture and why Jesus Christ, because he was preaching about when Christ became the Son of God, why, like, he was born of Mary and all those things. So it was just that sermon, but it answered a lot of things I had in my background. So that was that, and then I think that was a turning point. From that day on, I started being with them in that church, and that was where I started my journey now, where I was more focused now in Christ and everything. That was 2011, the 31st of July. So things, to fast forward things, I remember from there we were fellowshipping with the gents and all those things. Then 2016, where I was with these other boys. That's when I was like, okay, even at work, where I was working, because I started working 2010, 2016, until 2016. So 2016, I would always tell the gents, like, I still want to go to school, and the people like, okay, that was that, and you'll never make it. You have worked, you want to go to school again, it will never work. But for me, it was a conviction to say, I really want to go and study social work. And then that's where now I had that thing of, I really want to go there. So this other boy, he came. I had the internet, but I never used the internet to search for schools. So Ubanzi came, and then Ubanzi was so curious about internet and all those things. So I had the internet, but I never had the thing to say you can apply via internet. So he applied. He helped me to apply. We applied. The unfortunate part, he never got accepted. I got accepted, and that was the turning point of my life. Like, after 7 years. After I finished my grade 12, 2009, then 7 years later, I started school. I was now 27. I started when I was 27. So I got born again when I was 21, 2011. I was turning 21, 2011. It was 2017 when I started at school. I remember that year, what was surprising with me, I didn't even have money. I had nothing that year. I didn't even have the registration. I remember my pastor would always say, if you can just get admission, it's okay, don't worry. So for me, I didn't even know, like, in the university is that expensive, you understand? So I thought, okay, maybe if I just get admission, that's it, I'll just study. I'll apply for NSFAS and all those things. I did, and NSFAS rejected me. I remember the day before I left in Mpumalanga, my pastor came. As he came with his wife and Umamfundise Uzamisa and Dr. Uzamisa, they came and they're like, no, don't worry about the registration, don't worry about anything, we're gonna pay. I was like, what? Okay, God came through for me. That was it. Okay, registration is nice and everything is nice. Then when NSFAS rejected my application, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. And I remember this one day, it was now March, and by March you start getting the notification from the university that say you owe this much, you must pay by the end of this term and all those things. I lost my body. People who met me in January could not recognize me in March. I remember when my grandfather passed passed away in that year, very year. That was a man I wanted to see every success I have, but he couldn't see it. 2011, 2017, he passed on. We went to his funeral. People couldn't recognize me because I was so thin. I lost weight, and because of stress. But one thing I told myself during that season was like, if I can do my best, I know, because my pastor would always say that, like, if you do your best, the world is willing to pay for the best that you give. Then I was like, okay. Then I was like, what I can do now, I cannot pay for my fees, but what I can do is to study. I remember that year, the lowest I have was 73. The lowest I have was 73. I remember the day I was sitting with myself on a Saturday during the day, and I was like, God, you can't take me this far and just drop me like that. I remember hearing a voice. It was an audible voice, but there was no voice, but I heard this voice in my mind that says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That was on a Saturday. I was just alone. I was like, okay, I think. Then I prayed. In the morning, I went to church. That was in church now. In church, one elder came out. It was Pastor Yohane at GRC. Pastor Yohane came in, and as he came, he gave a word of wisdom. And he opened Hebrews 13 verse 5. It says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Then I was like, that's a confirmation. I remember I cried and I was praying. Then I knew that God is gonna come for me. On that following day, NSFIS came back and I was accepted. That was it. Yes, that was amazing. And yeah, that was a turning point. One thing I do, I made a decision to say every Sunday I'm going to church. So going to church for me, it's not optional. You understand? Every Sunday I know I'm going to church. Whether it's just a question of where do I go to church. Then it's through prayer. How do I maintain my relationship? It's through praying. It's through fellowship with other brethren. It's through reading books. It's a lot of things. Watching, because I like listening. I like debates between the atheist, then the Christian apologetics, and I also listen to the agnostics. I listen to a lot of people just to build up my faith. So it's not just one thing that can help you, but it's mostly the things: put prayer, fellowship, always read your word. Some people will like, but I don't read it every day. You don't have to read it every day. But as long as you are always conscious of God wherever you are. Yes. What I believe in, I believe that in this world we need to, in order for us to rise, we need to raise others. So that's what I believe in. I believe that in everything that you do, you need to raise others so that you can rise. Because when you rise from the position when you raise others to a certain position, that means now you need to be on a higher level. So that means it's like education. When you study this thing, then you know better, then you go on the other side. So you'll never be better. So that's that. I believe in humility. I believe in respect for everyone, regardless of what race or sexual orientation. Yes, please like and subscribe. Yeah, you see, hit the red button. Yeah, the red button, and subscribe. Also, you must also that bell, so that when new things are coming up, you can be notified. Yes, thank you.